I feel like I said this many times, but the biggest problem with the Clippers that I keep seeing, even throughout the years, the last few years, the Clippers, they're having problems closing games. And, I kind of thought with Russell Westbrook building chemistry with Kawhi and PG being in the starting lineup as he was before James Harden got there, I felt like, with him there and the way he pushes the ball, for the Clippers, it'll get him a lot more easier baskets, at times, where he pushes the ball at a fast pace and they get a lot of fast break points and things like that. And I figured that would, ultimately help the Clippers because, when you're getting easy baskets, and you're getting, more opportunities to score than the opposing team, it puts more pressure on them to keep scoring. And if you have a lead, it's easier for you to sustain it if you're getting easier points rather than making life hard for yourself trying to, set up plays and score against the opposing team when they're getting easier baskets. And when you play a team like the Warriors, even though they're struggling this year, they're still a championship caliber team. They still have championship DNA on there, as always. And you got to be on your P's and Q's as much. To me, the Clippers, I feel like they could have grabbed seized control of this game, pending on, how they came out and what, and if they could have sustained what they were doing. Now, of course, they couldn't because ultimately they lost this game. But, PG, another struggling game for PG. And I said before, when Paul George is not scoring at a great clip, like everybody was talking about a couple weeks ago and all this other type stuff, when he's not scoring and when he's not making those bad shots that he take, he's really not effective. He's really not somebody you can count on because now I will give him credit. This game, he did have 10 assists. He had 15 points. I think he shot like 6 for 18 with 15 points, 10 assists. And that's it's always good to be productive when your shot is not going. So I'm not going to harp on him too much, but at the same time, he just has to learn to take more efficient shots. I don't like a lot of shots that Paul George takes. I feel like a lot of shots that he takes when he misses them, it really, really hurts the team times 10 because a lot of times when you watch Paul George, he'll run down there, pull up, and take a 3-pointer over one or two guys, one or two defenders. I've seen him do it. And there's times where he'll do it, by himself, like that, maybe a little bit more higher percentage. But there's a lot of times where he takes a lot of bad shots and he makes them, you're good. But when he misses them, it's dreadful. And it really doesn't help the team at all. And I just feel like, he needs to work on taking more efficient shots and understanding when it's time for him to attack and when it's time for him to, find other guys who might have a higher percentage shot, which can help the team ultimately win more. Now, Kawhi, he did good. He took 17 shots, 9 for 17. 23 points. He was a leading scorer. He was efficient as always, shot over 50%. He could have took more shots, but I guess they could have, played him a little bit more if you want to say that maybe. But regardless of that, like I said, the Clippers just don't seem like they can close games well. And now they went out and got James Harden. People been telling me, on here, YouTube, and on my other social media, like, oh, give it time, this, and that. And I'm with you guys. I really am. I'm with you guys when you say give it time. But, it's just like you can keep saying that, but it's like, how much time do you need? And how much time do the Clippers have? Remember, they're playing under 500 basketball. When you're playing under 500 basketball, you don't really have all this time to make all these adjustments and do all these things, especially when you look at a Western Conference that is loaded. The Pelicans are going to be a problem. A matter of fact, I can think, there's a lot of teams in the West that would be a problem for the Clippers. The Pelicans, the Suns, Denver, the Lakers could be a problem, of course, just because it's a rivalry. Like I said, the Minnesota Timberwolves, it's crazy. It's so much competition out there now. And these young guys like Ant-Man and Anthony Edwards and all of them is growing right before our very eyes. And the Clippers have like the oldest team in the NBA. So when you think about that, those fresh legs going up against these elder legs really is going to benefit the other team, the opposing team, not the Clippers. And, at times you can count on Zubac to be all right. And then at times you can't count on him to be, aggressive enough, which is the reason why I think they went out and got Daniel Tice, which I think he's been a pretty decent addition. I really hate the fact that he's not going to get much playing time once Plumlee comes back, but Plumlee, I would go with Plumlee, of course, over Daniel Tice anyway. Me personally, I like Plumlee, but I mean, I still would like, Tice to get some minutes in there because he can knock down threes as well. Like he can stretch the floor. He can shoot a little bit. He's not a great shooter or not even really a good shooter. He's a somewhat of an adequate, shooter. I've seen him knock down plenty of shots when he was on Boston where, if he was wide open, took a high percentage three, took it and knocked it down. He can give you one or two. If he took 5 3-pointers in a game, he can give you 1 or 2 out of 5. I can see him doing that. You know what I'm saying? I've seen him do it before. So, I mean, he does serve some value and he will, bang in the boards. He's kind of like Mason Plumlee, but except, he can maybe shoot a little bit better, a little bit, maybe not much, but my point is the Clippers got to find ways to close games a lot better. A lot of these games we looked at this year, they're right there. They're they may be down, 5 or 10 points, but I mean, it's within striking distance and you have enough talent on your team. Even when you're down 5 or 10 points, that shouldn't be a good enough lead for any team to beat you with all the talent that you have because you have so much talent on the board that, it's tough. It would be tough to beat you. Now, granted, the Golden State Warriors last night, that's a well-oiled machine type team. That's a championship caliber type team. So I definitely understand it. But the way they've been struggling this year, you would have thought the Clippers might have had a really good chance to go in there and steal one from them because the way the Clippers, played the other night, once Kawhi scored 34 points and, they came out and beat the Sacramento Kings, you would have thought maybe they would have, went there, did the same thing with Golden State. But of course, that wasn't the case. And some people might actually say the Kings were, tired from the night before. I don't really deal with no excuses. I don't really care about that. But of course, some people are going to say that now, especially since, some people might believe the Clippers laid an egg against the Warriors. But even still, Ty Lue's going to have to really put his mind and compartmentalize all these things and put it together very, very quickly because if they're not closing games right, they're not, closing games the way they're supposed to with the talent that they have. That means players are out of place and that means everybody's not playing the position they should at the highest level. And me personally, it goes back to what I said earlier in this, in this statement I'm making now, where I said I thought with Russell Westbrook, a lot of things might actually change a little bit, especially with the chemistry he would build with Kawhi and PG. And, you had Bones Highland and, it just, to me, the operation just looked a lot better before James Harden got there. I feel like I don't like what I'm seeing. I feel like they're too slow in their sets at times. I feel like the pace is not being pushed fast enough at times. You know what I'm saying? Of course, you could say that, James Harden can score better than Russell Westbrook. But at the same time, I think possibly, I guess if Ty Lue left James Harden in the starting lineup all year long, I guess at some point he would look okay or look better with Kawhi and PG. But what the hell would the Clippers record be by then? They might be 10, 12 games under 500 by then. And if that's the case, now you got more frustration in the locker room. Now you got guys disgruntled. Now you got guys that's not engaged as much and all these things. And, even with Terrence Mann, they have to find a way to make him more effective. I think he's shooting like 15 to 20% from the 3-point line so far this year. And I know he came back off that injury and stuff, but they got to find ways to make him more effective and how he can affect the game more, except rather than just, getting tip ins and, put backs to the basket and things like that. He should be able to step out and shoot some threes and shoot at a higher clip. I mean, I don't know what it is. Like I said, I just feel like, this team is not gelling the way they should. And like I said, when you got 4-star players like this, some of the losses that the Clippers have had are really bothersome. Like I said, you lost to the Brooklyn Nets. They lost to the Knicks. You've lost to teams where I think you should beat them. And like I said, you ain't got to have chemistry to beat the New York Knicks. Not to me. Not when you got Kawhi, PG, Harden, and Russell Westbrook. That you don't have to have chemistry to beat the Knicks. You got enough talent, more talent than them to beat the Knicks. I mean, Russell Westbrook is better than everybody on the Knicks. And Russell Westbrook's like the third or fourth best player on the Clippers. You see what I'm talking about? So certain losses, they just shouldn't have on their resume. And with that being said, they're not closing games well. I've seen some games this year where, they might have a lead or something like that. And in the fourth quarter, or late in the second half, late in the third quarter, it's like, you give up the lead and the other team takes the momentum, and the Clippers, it's like when the other team takes the momentum from the Clippers, it's like the Clippers don't know how to get it back. You see what I'm saying? And that's a huge deficit when you're trying to win a championship. And I can tell you now, this team is nowhere near a contender for a championship. And I know you've heard me say it, but I mean, they're just not, and I don't know if things are going to change so drastically to where they will be. And if that's the case, then, I'm just like, it's I don't even know what to say, you know what I'm saying? Because before Harden got there, I thought they had a lot better chance. I like Russell Westbrook in the lineup. I still think Ty Lue needs to go to James Harden and say, hey, I got to put Russ in the starting lineup because I like what I see. Or I've liked what I've seen with Russell Westbrook, with Kawhi and them a lot better. You come off the bench and, you be our anchor with the second unit, because then you can go and do what you like to do. And you and Daniel Tice and maybe Norman Powell, y'all can go out there and cook, and then let the starting lineup do what they need to do, and y'all feed off their energy, like that. And then, maybe they can find a way to fit Bones in there a little bit more, because I like the energy Bones Highland gave them too. But, it's like when you're stunting players' growth and you're not allowing them to develop the way they should and, build with this team the way they should, just to appeal to somebody like James Harden, who's damn near halfway out the league, you're gonna find yourself in this predicament that you're in. So if I was Ty Lue, I have to just make that change. Honestly, I know some people might think it's premature me saying that, but I mean, hell, like I said, the Clippers can't get too far back in the standings, because when you look at the West, as I said before, the West is so tough, and some of the teams that used to be trash, like the Timberwolves, are actually good now. So I mean, when you look at it from that standpoint, you got to be competitive. And if you're not competitive, you'll find yourself losing, and you'll find yourself not even in the play-in tournament. And if that's the case, if the Clippers don't even make the playoffs or the play-in tournament, now we really got a problem, because if you thought the media was harping on the Clippers before, they would not let go. If that happens, they would basically undermine and kill every player on the Clippers every time they get a chance to speak about them. So, I mean, we definitely don't want that to happen. So we got to figure out a way to put everybody in their place and try to figure out a way to close games a lot better and be more effective if you're looking for a championship to come out of this season.